All right, hello. So our presentation is on school-age stuttering materials, and we completed this project with myself, Ashley Bisbee, Susanna Lee, Alyssa Sadler, and Jordan Willie. So let me put this in presentation mode. All right, so first off, our target audience, our materials are intended for school-age children and teens, so anywhere from age of 5 to 18. Our intended method of service delivery is in-person therapy, but it can also be adapted to online education and teletherapy practices as requested or as needed. And these therapy materials were created to target the overall ABCs, the affective, behavioral, and cognitive aspects of fluency disorders within the therapy setting. And we chose activities that were evidence-based and based on research that we looked at that are all functional and engaging to the target audience that we plan to work with. And next, for our background and rationale, we looked into research relating to evidence-based practices, to determine the functionality and purpose of the therapy materials that were selected for the use for this school age population of children and teens. And the following slides, we will discuss the specific research that we looked into and clinic-based evidence for these therapy materials and how they support the materials in their use in therapeutic intervention.
Okay, so we created 5 different therapy materials, and those consist of Santa Stutters 2, which is a book and an activity sheet to accompany, the Cognitive Behavioral Therapy Visual, intentional speech practice worksheets. We have a game of Jeopardy, and then a Stutter with Me activity as well. Okay, there we go. So in the Santa Stutters 2 activity, we have a viewing of the book. So you can pull this up on YouTube and watch the full, someone read through the book. And then after that, you can do this activity, which we created. And it talks about, kind of the feelings and attitudes and emotions that the children may experience about stuttering. So they have them draw how this book made you feel. When I stutter, I like when people do this. When I stutter, I feel this. And then some of that evidence, we have to back it up. Cook and Miller, they discussed the importance of increasing confidence as it can make communication situations feel easier. And then another reference we have just discusses the positive support of intervention, targeting attitudes and emotions related to stuttering. And then we have a video demonstration that Ashley will pull up.
And kind, and you will see. Stuttering is nothing to fear. So dance and give some holiday cheer.
Okay, did you like that book?
I did like it.
All right, so now we're going to do an activity sheet to go along with that book that talks about some of our feelings that we felt while listening to the book. And then also we're going to talk about how you feel when you stutter. So first I want you to draw how this book made you feel.
I feel good because I stutter just like Santa.
Yeah, that's good. And now I want you to talk about when I stutter, I don't like when people do this. And then in the bottom part, I want you to put when I stutter, I feel, and put how you feel when you stutter. Okay, and I'm not sure if I mentioned for the previous one, but the Santa Who Stutters, that's for ages like 5 to 10 years old. And then for this next activity, this is the Cognitive Behavioral Therapy Visual, and this one addresses cognitive and behavioral aspects of the ABCs, obviously. And then this one's more generalized, so we can use it from ages 5 all the way up to 18, so kind of those high schoolers or teenagers. And we chose this because the reference we have on this slide, Scott, presents on the evidence base of cognitive behavioral therapy and discusses this visual as a useful tool to use within therapy practice. Okay, so we already filled out what I think, what I do, and how I feel, and now I want you to fill out what I feel in my body. So how do you feel when you stutter, when you're in class and you answer questions?
I feel like my mouth is really tense. And I feel like my shoulders get really tight. And I feel like I feel like I blink a lot. Those are kind of the things I feel in my body when I stutter.
Okay, so we feel lots of tension.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of reflects some of the anxiety and stress that you said that you feel when you're answering questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so this material focuses on intentional speech practice. It's a material that we got from a research article by Allen from 2010. And in the article, she discusses the incorporation of all of the ABCs in therapy intervention and provides an example of the use of this intentional speech practice worksheet as a specific tool for use. So what it does is you can target specific things each day, and you can talk about how you did, whether you have positive or negative thinking. And Ashley, if you could go to the next slide. What I was feeling, what will I do differently next time, and new ways of thinking that you might have learned or that you will use for next time. This visual is something that you can use for ages from 5 all the way to 18. It was originally developed for adults, so we do feel like it's more appropriate for some older ages, but it could be developed for younger ages just to kind of talk about what we're going to practice, how it made us feel, and what we were thinking when it happened. So Ashley will show a video. Okay, we are going to fill out the intentional speech template. So yesterday for Monday, your goal was to practice 2 phone calls. Can you tell me how that went?
Yeah, so I wanted to do 2 phone calls, but I ended up only doing 1 because I felt kind of bad after the first phone call. So I kind of just gave up.
So you only did 1 phone call, and what was your thinking about that? You thought, it looks like you wrote, they're going to judge me.
Yeah, I was just so scared they were going to judge me.
Okay. And then
felt kind of stupid.
Yeah. Okay. So next time, what can we do differently?
Try to be more positive and not expect the worst.
Yeah, that'd be
and
good.
I need to try to finish.
Since stuttering is a complex and often misunderstood disorder, before we could target like surface behaviors, attitudes, and emotions and the impact on daily life, it's important to target the foundation of it all and educate a client and their families and community partners on what stuttering even is. So the Stuttering Foundation discusses the importance of education related to fluency disorders, which is an important cognitive aspect related to the intervention of fluency disorders. So this Jeopardy game was created just to target the cognitive aspect through education, leading to potential changes in thinking and beliefs. And the template I made was targeted towards older children, but it could be modified and adapted to fit whatever client needs. And it also can serve as an educational tool for parents, caregivers, educators, and peers. And you can also facilitate like further discussion, even though the topics are kind of broad.
All right, so the next team is up for Jeopardy. You guys get to choose which category and how many points you want to go for.
Okay, do you guys want to do true or false for 500?
Sure.
Let's
All
do it.
right. Everyone in the world is disfluent in some way. True. That is correct.
Yes.
Can you guys explain to me why you think the answer was true?
I know that sometimes my mom, she says, like, stuttering doesn't have to just be like that.
Mhm.
It can also be saying like and like instead of my
Yeah,
mom does that
exactly.
a lot.
Nobody is a perfect talker.
Okay, and this is a visual we made called Stutter With Me. The reference that we use is from the Stuttering Foundation, which discussed conquering fear and tension around stuttering by increasing stuttering knowledge, awareness, and practicing pacing, relaxation, and planning your speech and basically having control over it. So we did this by, utilizing education, so talking about different forms of stuttering. We also talked about time and tension and how planning for that can influence speech. And we also have the opportunity to experiment with stuttering and kind of get rid of that fear and practice stuttering in the clinical setting, which would hopefully generalize to practicing stuttering in the classroom or at home with your family. This can be used for ages 5 to 12, and it mainly addresses the behavioral aspect of the ABCs. Okay, Ashley, so we went over the different types of stutter, and now we're going to talk about time and tension and how those can influence our communication. So let's talk about going too fast. So maybe somebody might say, I'm gonna go to the store. Can you see how that might be a little bit hard to understand? Versus, I'm going to the store. Okay, now let's talk about tension. Can you say something really tense? Say, I'm going to the store with a lot of tension in your voice and in your body.
I'm going to the store.
Good. Now say it really relaxed.
I'm going to the store.
Good. So can you see how maybe saying something too fast or with too much tension can influence how other people can understand you?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so now we're going to try and experiment with some of the stuttering that we've talked about. So how do you want to stutter today? You want to do tight, loose?
Let's do tight and bumpy.
Okay, so why don't you teach me how to do that?
I want to go to the store.
Good job. Okay.
So that brings us to the end of our presentation. Our reference sheet will be pulled up here in a second.
Guys.
Thank you for your time and attention, and have a Merry Christmas. So that brings us to the end of our presentation, and here are our references. And final words, Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year.